From a psychological point of view, there's a common behavior that people often notice in real life. Sometimes a person who cannot achieve something themselves starts giving advice to others about how to live, how to behave, or how to become better. In many cases, the advice may sound positive on the surface, but it may not come from real experience. This creates an interesting psychological pattern that can be understood in simple terms. When someone is unable to control their own life, they may try to feel a sense of control by influencing others. This is a natural human response. People like to feel important, useful, and knowledgeable. When a person cannot succeed in a certain area, such as discipline, success, or moral behavior, they may still want to appear wise in front of others. One way they do this is by advising others on how to be good, how to be honest, or how to live properly. Psychology explains that this behavior can come from a need for validation. Validation means the feeling of being accepted or respected by others. If someone feels insecure about their own life choices or abilities, they may try to gain respect by giving advice. Even if their own actions do not match their words, they still speak as if they understand everything. This does not always mean they are bad people. It often means they are struggling internally with their own shortcomings. Another reason for this behavior is called projection. Projection happens when a person unconsciously shifts their own issues onto others. For example, if someone is not disciplined, they may criticize others for being lazy. If someone struggles with honesty, they may strongly emphasize honesty in others. In this way, they focus on external behavior instead of fixing their own internal problems. This helps them avoid facing their own weaknesses. In many situations, people give advice not because they are fully qualified, but because they want to feel better about themselves. Telling others what is right can give them a temporary sense of superiority. It can make them feel like they are knowledgeable or morally better than others. However, this feeling is often shallow if it is not supported by real personal growth or experience. At the same time, it is important to understand that not all advice from such people is wrong. Sometimes a person may not have achieved something themselves, but they still understand it intellectually. For example, someone who has studied success, discipline, or ethics may still give useful guidance even if they have not fully applied it in their own life. The key difference lies in consistency between words and actions. When advice is supported by real behavior, it becomes more trustworthy. From a psychological perspective, human beings are influenced more by actions than words. People observe what others do, not just what they say. If someone constantly advises others to be disciplined but lives in an undisciplined way, others may notice the inconsistency. Over time, this can reduce trust. On the other hand, when a person lives according to their own advice, it naturally inspires others without needing to force opinions. Another important concept is cognitive dissonance. This occurs when a person's beliefs and actions do not match. For example, someone may believe in honesty but still act dishonestly. This creates internal discomfort. To reduce that discomfort, the person may try to justify their behavior or focus on advising others instead of fixing themselves. By giving advice, they shift attention away from their own contradictions. People also sometimes use advice as a defense mechanism. A defense mechanism is a mental strategy used to protect oneself from stress or guilt. If someone feels guilty about their own behavior, they might avoid self-reflection by focusing on others. Instead of asking, "How can I improve myself?" they ask, "How can others improve?" This shift helps them avoid facing their own uncomfortable truths about their life. In social settings, people who give advice may also be trying to maintain a certain image. They want to be seen as wise, mature, or experienced. Even if they lack real achievements, their words create an impression of knowledge. In some cases, people accept this image without questioning it. This is why in psychology, appearance and perception often play a big role in communication and influence. However, it is important not to judge people harshly based on this behavior alone. Everyone has areas in life where they struggle. A person may be strong in one area and weak in another. Just because someone cannot succeed in one field does not mean their advice is completely useless. It simply means their advice should be evaluated carefully based on logic and evidence, rather than authority alone. When you understand this psychological pattern, you become more aware of how to handle advice from others. Instead of blindly accepting everything, you learn to think critically. You can ask yourself whether the advice makes sense, whether it aligns with reality, and whether the person giving it follows their own advice. This helps you make better decisions in life. At the same time, you should also reflect on your own behavior. Sometimes we may unknowingly do the same thing. We may give advice to others while ignoring our own weaknesses. Self-awareness is important in psychology because it helps us grow. When we recognize our own flaws, we can work on improving ourselves instead of focusing only on others. Real growth happens when a person aligns their thoughts, words, and actions. When what you believe matches what you say, and what you say matches what you do, you develop integrity. Integrity builds trust, both within yourself and with others. It also reduces inner conflict and increases confidence. It is also worth noting that experience plays a major role in credibility. A person who has gone through challenges and learned from them often gives more practical advice. Their words are backed by real-life understanding. On the other hand, advice without experience may sound good, but may not always work in practice. This is why psychology values both knowledge and experience together. In life, you will meet different types of people. Some will guide you with honesty and experience. Others may guide you based on assumptions or personal limitations. Your responsibility is to listen carefully, observe their behavior, and then decide what to follow. Not every piece of advice is meant to be followed blindly. Wisdom lies in filtering information and choosing what truly helps you grow. At the end of the day, your life is your responsibility. No one else can live it for you. Advice from others can guide you, but your actions determine your results. If someone who has not achieved something tells you to improve your life, you should listen with an open mind, but also with awareness. Take what is useful, ignore what is not, and focus on building your own path. Psychology teaches us that human behavior is complex. People act based on their emotions, experiences, insecurities, and desires. Understanding this helps us become more patient and observant. Instead of reacting emotionally to advice or criticism, we can analyze it calmly and make better choices. In conclusion, the idea that someone who cannot achieve something themselves may advise others to be better can be understood through various psychological concepts, such as validation, projection, defense mechanisms, cognitive dissonance, and the need for social image. This behavior is part of human nature. The key is not to judge it blindly, but to understand it, learn from it, and use that understanding to improve your own thinking and decision-making.